Founders Park Media and Samurai 7 Books presents Cosmic Champions. Written by Mark Caldwell Jones. Read for you by Play AI. Cosmic Champions. Part 4. Battle Moon, Round 2. Chapter 25. Magical fast travel was very important for the game. In the computer version, Alex relied on it to dart around and sneak up on foes, but experiencing it in real life made him second-guess why he'd ever considered it a good idea. When he and the team reappeared, it seemed his stomach arrived several minutes before his body, and he gagged as if he might vomit. A spasm of vertigo made him wobble, and he thought for a moment he was going to lose his balance and do an embarrassing faceplant in front of everyone. All the green faces confirmed he wasn't the only one feeling terrible. "Where the heck are we?" he wondered. "Sweet bliss leaf," Genghis exclaimed. "This is the Sapphire Sanctum. We're dead, dude." Dead? Alex realized he was dreaming. Or was it something else? His sense of reality had been so out of whack for so long now, it was hard to know what was happening or what to believe. Best to just roll with it. "Like you're playing a game," he told himself. Because you are playing a game. A fun game, in fact. Was it still fun? Yes, he said to himself again. You are having fun. Enjoy playing the fun game. Then he remembered. The bog. The wraith, and the deal. Game Master said he would help the team, but why did this help feel so bad? "Because he killed you, doofus! Because you were dead!" No, that can't be right. Look around. Look around in a dream. How is that possible? Turn your crazy head. Alex turned his head and gagged and choked, then spilled out of the regeneration pod onto the blue brick castle floor. "Good morning, honored player," the small, gremlin-sized wizard squeaked in broken English. He handed Alex a large towel and waved one strange claw like a game show hostess. "Welcome to the Sapphire Sanctum, your rightful home for the duration of the game." "Who are you?" Alex asked. The tiny wizard responded in gibberish that Alex couldn't understand. "Skalasin Skalarni, Master Healer, Sapphire Order," Jed translated, holding one finger in the air. "He's a skulk. He says he's at your service, I think. Still working out that last part." "Why can't I understand him?" Alex wondered. "He only knows a few phrases in basic language," Jed said. "So, how are you translating that nonsense?" Alex asked. "One of my passive abilities, dude," Jed laughed. "You really should get to know your team better." Jed was eating a piece of fruit while leaning against the door jamb of one of several exits from the large, round space. He wore a new ninja-styled skin complete with glittering silver chainmail that peeked out from below his black robes. A belt with an array of mysterious pouches and sheathed daggers fit snugly around his waist. Alex liked the upgrade. As if sensing it was no longer needed, Alex's pod's dome closed with a puff of white smoke. Some hidden mechanism sloshed clear liquid around the inside of the strange invention. It reminded Alex of a washing machine running through its various cycles. A cloud of steam escaped with a hiss from an exhaust pipe. "The girl's crypt is on the other side of the hall," Jed said. Master Healer Skalarni squeaked, bowed, and ran behind Alex, then shot him in the left butt cheek with a very large and very painful Modcraft skin dart. "Hey, man!" Alex screamed. "What's the big idea shooting a guy down there?" Jed laughed and offered Alex a piece of his strange blue fruit. "Hurts, doesn't it? But it beats being naked." Alex looked down. His new skin was nothing less than awesome. It was a low-level set of armor called Battle Gear of the Blue Forge. It consisted of a gleaming magical breastplate, spaulders for his shoulders, and well-fitting leg plates. The set boosted his attack power by 50 points and improved his chance of striking a critical hit by 20%. It seemed leveling up, truly, had its advantages. "Can you believe that old fart killed us?" Jed said nonchalantly. He chomped down, taking another bite of the blue fruit. So it was true. They had died and were now regenerated, something that should have happened when they destroyed the red base. "Aspie says the game is out of whack," Jed added, "and that geezer was just setting things right." Alex checked his heads-up display, where he found the official score. Sparkles Modfia had won the first round. The griefers showed a big goose egg. "I'm not sure if he was trying to help us," Alex said, scratching his head. "But at least we're still up my one." Jed shrugged. "Well, the Skulks said this is officially round 2, so I guess we better get ready to face off with the competition." Alex felt a buzz of excitement and worry. The game was in full swing now. What would an actual battle with the other team be like? "Miss, Aspie, and Luna are already awake, skinned up and exploring the base," Jed said. "Genghis is with them. Come on, let's go find them and get you some breakfast." Alex used the posh bathroom, and the two boys set off to find everyone. The Sapphire Sanctum was more like a cathedral than a castle. Its spires reached higher than the turrets and parapets of a typical fortress, and it had flying buttresses that held the walls like giant fingers. All the stonework was made from various hues of blue, including azure, blackberry, and periwinkle. There were several bell towers and gargoyles made of blue crystal. Stained glass windows depicting wilderness creatures were everywhere. They made the entire estate glow with calming light. There was a tranquil mood here that was different from the Crimson Castle. Somehow, it was understood that safety could be found if visitors sought sanctuary peacefully. The courtyard in the center of the estate featured an opulent fountain in front of the sanctum's cornerstone, which held the sapphire cosmocron. The spinning orb glowed with the color of a morning sky, providing light to the dancing waters and the whole sanctum. Solstice roses and hyacinth vines grew everywhere, but seemed dense near the fountain. Incense burned by the skulk monks filled the air with a perfume that was both earthen and floral. Like the other base, all the walls were covered in ivy and indigo bougainvillea, giving the strange cathedral the balance between its more sacred features and the mundane wilderness beyond its massive gates. Eventually, Alex and Jed found the girls and Genghis. They were getting a tour by a blue-robed skulk named Vicar Skalodius. "And what is this?" Ms. pointed at a large two-pole lever near the main entrance. Vicar Skalodius responded in skulk gibberish, gesturing his hand in a way that told Ms. to flip the switch. Ms. laughed and shrugged. "I have no idea what any of these skulks are saying," he said. "There's only one way to find out." Jed translated. "Pull it." Ms. reached up and threw the switch, and the Sapphire Sanctum seemed to shift into another gear. "Wow!" "I think that's the game-on switch," Aspie said. "It's the player's way of activating the base. The skulks switch it off to preserve power when the players are regenerating." This seemed right. Once the switch was engaged, the cosmocron erupted with fresh magic. Waves of stronger electricity swirled around the sapphire. Now it seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Outside the walls, along the perimeter of the main gate, two massive turrets with cannons charged with power. Their gears whirled as the barrels of their guns swiveled back and forth, eagerly searching for a worthy target. From somewhere below, steam rose in several great gusts of white smoke. "What is that? Is the base on fire?" Genghis asked. "That would be the skulk pits firing up," Aspie said. "There's an entire factory hidden below us." Alex looked down through the street grates to see several vats of sapphire-colored goop bubbling and burping steam. It reminded him of the large pot of spaghetti sauce his mom would make on Monday nights. The contents of that pot filled large copper tubes and flowed through a web of conduits until it was deposited into a series of skulk-shaped molds. The molds were then pushed into ovens and baked in magic. Eventually, at the end of this process, an entire new wave of sapphire-colored skulks appeared on a slow-moving conveyor. After being skinned in their appropriate attire, each one seemed ready and eager to serve the sanctum and its new masters. This batch seemed to be soldiers. As they were produced, they marched up from the pits, out the main gate, and over the drawbridge, where they queued near the entrance to Dead Man's Road. They milled about until a dozen had formed a squad. Once aligned in soldierly formation, they marched east down the road. Where are they going? Man, this is just like the game. They're headed to the towers, Jed marveled. They'll defend those structures if attacked. And if killed, the skulk pits will generate new squads to take their place. Alex stared at the magic and majesty of the blue castle. Every indigo-colored brick, tile, and rivet seemed to hum with a mysterious energy. It seemed alive, like it possessed a mind focused exclusively on defending and protecting their team. A sense of calm washed over Alex for the first time since they'd crossed over into the new world. No longer worried about his safety, he realized he was hungry. "Actually, I'm starving," he said to no one in particular. Immediately, the sanctum responded like an attentive mother. An important-looking skulk in a chef's hat appeared and rang a handheld copper bell and pointed Alex and the team to the grand hall. Once inside, they found a spread that would put any breakfast banquet to shame. The table was loaded with a variety of bacon, sausages, eggs, and a myriad of hot drinks, plus every flavor of juice. And there were desserts. So many, in fact, it looked as if someone had robbed a bakery. "Hot diggity dang," Miz said, grabbing a donut. "That's what I'm talking about." "Is it safe?" wondered Aspie. "Safer than starving," Jed said. Alex laughed. It seemed to him Jed had never stopped eating since they woke up. "Baked tofu!" Genghis yipped, grabbing a plate. "Heck yeah!" The team filled their plates and mugs, found some seats, then began their feast. As they ate, the skulks served them, offering seconds and clearing dishes. A trio of blue skulks in wizard robes buzzed around, magically manifesting more accoutrements to set the mood. Candles, flowered vines, and music filled the room. Shakrak! Jade Master, who no one had seen since the confrontation at the bog, suddenly appeared in their midst. He was wearing a new robe. The black goo from the bog had disappeared. His features were clearer, his silken robe more befitting his stature. Everyone stood, unsure about his motives. He smiled pleasantly and motioned for them to sit back down. Everyone did, happy to get back to their food. He watched them eat, sticking his chest out with pride, surveying what had become a quite beautiful room. Then he took up a chair at one end of the grand table, opposite Alex, and presided over them like a happy father. "You like the banquet hall?" he smiled. "Wait until you see the surprise I have for you." "Surprise?" Alex said. "The last few days have been one big surprise after another. Everything about this place is a surprise. No truer words could be more appropriate for your first visit here," Game Master said. He smiled wide, then raised a drink to the team, who responded by raising their own. "My friends, since I have not said it in any polite way, or at all for that matter, welcome to the Battle Moon." Chapter 26. After breakfast, the Modfia team members wandered outside, drinks in hand, and strolled around the main courtyard. They examined aspects of the lush garden and enjoyed the sculptures they found. Each one was of some famous champion that had once called the sanctum their base. "My dear Earthborn friends, I realize you are enjoying your respite," Game Master said, appearing suddenly behind them. "But I promised you a surprise." With a wave of his hand, Game Master reshuffled the bricks in the nearest wall, producing a room full of magical weapons. A collective gasp rose among the team, and they rushed inside with the excitement of children on Christmas morning. As they approached the largest display, a magical tapestry unfurled. It read, "Game Master's Cosmotastic Equipment, Emporium." The subtitle declared, "Redeem Valor Points here." "Now this is the luscious loot I've been waiting for," Ms. cheered. Everyone laughed. Game Master regarded them with a wry smile. He disappeared in a swirl of magical smoke and reappeared seconds later behind the counter. He was wearing a Dapper Dan-type outfit consisting of a wide-brimmed straw hat, a red striped vest, a bow tie, and sleeve spats. His mustache was waxed so that it stuck out a foot on each side of his face. His ever-present wizard staff had transformed into a vintage walking cane that he used to direct his eager customers. "No pushing, no shoving, and most importantly, no fighting, my dear patrons," he said in his best Willy Wonka impression. Game Master snapped his fingers and a ticket scanner appeared on the counter to his left. Using his cane, he tapped the device affectionately. "Please place your right hand on the palm scanner. It will read your current player statistics." Alex beamed with delight. The weapon's pop-up reminded him of his weekend trips to the arcade. He spent countless hours collecting paper tickets in plastic buckets and then endlessly haunting the winner's circle, where it took even longer to decide how to redeem the tickets. Memories of his father and mother begging him to hurry flashed through his mind. It made him smile. Those had been happier days. "You, young lady, then you," Game Master said, pointing to Aspie, then Ms. "If I remember right, it is an Earthborn custom to let females go first." Aspie looked down at her feet. "I'm not sure I identify as female. I'm still figuring that out." "I sure as heck do," Ms. said, pushing Aspie out of the way. "Splendid," Game Master said, offering Ms. the scanner. Ms. placed her palm down, and hundreds of tickets spooled out. A blue-robed skulk, who seemed to appear out of nowhere, tapped her on the knee and handed her a plastic bucket to catch them as they flooded out. "The amount you receive is based on the number of valor points you've accumulated thus far," Game Master said, pointing his cane at the bucket. When it seemed the bucket couldn't hold any more tickets, the machine stopped. Ms. regarded her treasure with a radiant smile. Excited, she skipped to the bladed weapons section of the Emporium. Her eyes widened at all the magnificent battle axes. It was going to take some time to pick the exact right one. Aspie was next. She stepped up to the machine with her plastic bucket and another enormous string of tickets spooled out. Game Master gave Aspie a fatherly wink and said, "Each of the weapons is clearly marked with their ticket value. Please calculate carefully. I don't want to be here all night." Alex was the last in line and seemed to be the most excited of the entire group. He was eyeing one particular sword, which was hanging at the highest point on the wall, out of reach of everyone. A placard below the sword read, "Starstone Blade of Badassery." It was a real-life replica of the exact sword he used in the computer version of the game. He'd never seen anything so beautiful. The value was marked clearly. It cost 500 tickets. Alex rubbed his hands together greedily. When Jed finished, Alex stepped up to the machine with his bucket at the ready and placed his hand on the Valor Point reader. Click! One ticket popped out of the machine. "What the heck?" Alex scrunched his nose as if something smelled fishy. "Did your machine run out?" "Check the panel," Game Master responded, eyeing the machine calmly. Alex scanned it and saw that a single digit flashed on the panel. It was the number 2. Not 1, but 2. "Wait a sec, that can't be right." He slapped the side of the machine. The skulk assistant scowled at him and wagged its claw to scold him. Really? But even if that's right, it's wrong! The machine only produced one ticket! The minion looked at Alex, then looked at the machine. He tapped it once. He seemed to get frustrated, then, mimicking Alex, slapped the side of the machine. A gear within the machine whirled once, and the skulk crossed his arms, flashed a fanged smile of satisfaction, and pointed down at the result. One more ticket had popped out, dangling there like a tiny pink tongue mocking Alex. You've got to be kidding! 2 lousy tickets? That's it! 2 valor points, 2 tickets. That's how it works, Game Master said. He pushed Alex on the shoulder with his cane, shooing him away from the scanner. Alex muttered something profane under his breath and ripped the tickets from the slot in one quick jerk. 2 quick, in fact. Or 1 1/2 tickets in your case, Game Master said, eyeing the torn ticket. I'm sure you'll have plenty of time to increase your valor score, if you choose to make a few changes. Oh, really? Alex scowled, not wanting a lecture. Yes, really. Those deficient in valor need not despair. The spirit has a magnificent ability to expand in strength and fortitude, especially under extreme stress and life-threatening circumstances. Sometimes losing is truly the best reward. The Game Master pointed to the lowest shelf in the glass display case. For now, your treasure awaits you here. He used his cane to point at a collection of toy-like objects piled in small woven baskets. Alex deflated like a punctured balloon. The baskets held the trash prizes available for players after they had spent all their tickets on the big items. He looked over at his teammates. They were like sharks in a feeding frenzy, nervously circling the bounty of shiny new weapons. His head dropped onto his chest while he perused his meager options. Well, how about that? He asked, exhaling miserably. He pointed at the nearest basket. The pink whoopee cushion? That'll be 10 tickets, Game Master said calmly. Never mind. How about the X-ray lenses? 25 tickets, Game Master growled. You're headed in the wrong direction, kid. Well, tell me already, what the heck can I get for 1 1/2 tickets? Game Master snatched the tickets from his hand, rolled his eyes, and placed a tiny, hinged box down on the counter. You can have this, but promise me you won't let your foul mood spoil the fun your teammates are having. He used his cane to push the box toward Alex like it was radioactive. Alex nodded reluctantly and took the box. He fiddled with the latch until it popped open, revealing a simple sticker. It seemed to be some bad artwork. A golden-colored skull of some kind. It looked faded, like it had been misplaced in someone's shorts and washed a few times by accident. You're serious? He gave Game Master a side-eyed glance. A sticker? That's it? Not a sticker, a temporary tattoo. His eyes lit up as he grinned at Alex. Pretty gnarly one, if you ask me. Yeah, great. Who needs a sword? I'll just slap this on my forehead. I'm sure it'll scare the heck out of the griefers. The Game Master shrugged. You never know. Alex took the tattoo and waved it toward his team. You guys jealous? They looked at him like he was an idiot and went back to choosing their new weapons. Know this, young man. It will take far more than expensive swords or rare magical artifacts to defeat Malvexus. Yeah, is that so? Well, if I'm going to get killed, at least I'll look cool. The sarcasm dripped off Alex's reply as he replaced the tattoo and stuffed the box in his pocket. Thanks, old man. I don't feel like it's all up to me anymore. Game Master stared at Alex with a mixture of concern and wonder. Everyone thinks I'm a loser, Alex muttered as he sulked out of the room. Maybe they're right. Game Master shrugged, smiling serenely. That's a problem easily solved. Oh yeah? How do I do that? Prove them wrong, my dear boy, he said. Prove everyone wrong. Chapter 27. It was decided the rest of the day would be a time to relax, think, and eat. Luna, who was happy the base considered her friendly, showed the team how to modify the magical creation of food. During lunch, their banquet table was set up with a spread of hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken nuggets, pizza, and French fries. I've calibrated the machines to make Earth food as I best understand it, Luna said. Heck yeah, chow time, Genghis yelled, as he almost dove headfirst into the plate of French fries. After lunch, Luna showed them the portal key gateway that was built into the side of the cornerstone. This reopened old wounds. If we had a portal key, this is where you would use it, Luna said. It seems Game Master has promised you one if you continue to help him. Miz and Jed walked past Alex with withering looks on their faces. Interesting, Luna observed. Your team hates you. What else is new? Alex quipped. She placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. I know what it means to bring dishonor to a team. Dishonor? He raised an eyebrow. That's a little strong, don't you think? She looked at Aspie, Jed, and Miz. A dark cloud of sullen animus had descended on the group. Genghis was the only ray of sunshine. My people have been the guardians of the battle moon for eons. It's our sacred duty to serve and die if necessary. Many of my kin, whom I once led into battle, look at me now with similar contempt. The path of a true warrior can be quite disheartening and lonely, she said. But I don't understand why you insist on provoking them. Alex shrugged. He hated what she was saying, but it seemed true. Something inside him wanted to piss everyone off. He'd always felt that, but never put words to it. After my parents split up, I spent all my time playing this game. I mean, it was the only thing that made me feel decent. I guess, if I'm honest, it's the only thing I really care about these days, he said, turning away from her to look at the nearby fountain. When I feel like someone is trying to take it away from me, I get frazzled. Don't think straight. Say things I don't mean. I don't mean to be a dick, but sometimes I just am. She nodded and said, The battle moon is a gathering place, a nexus for worlds to meet and challenge each other through competition. But above all, it is a test of honor and loyalty. Loyalty to your team and the people they represent. Alex waved her off. Yeah, an intergalactic Olympics. If you display honor on the field, you become part of the Cosmic Alliance. Luna, I know the game lore. Are you trying to tell me that applies to the Modfia? I don't remember getting an official invite to be Earth's champion. You dismiss me too easily, Earthborn, she retorted. The Cosmomancers believe the character traits you display as a team during the game show the traits you will display as a member of the Cosmic Alliance. Playing without true honor or true valor reflects upon your entire species. She trailed off. Alex saw tears form around the edges of her eyes, but they defiantly refused to fall. Surely this is the tragedy Malvexus inflicts upon my people. He has disgraced eons of heroic play. Now he uses the battle moon to orchestrate his own celebrity. He wants to be known as the greatest champion of all time. Shouldn't Game Master stop him? I mean, if he's breaking the rules, doesn't that invalidate his wins or something? Alex asked. Malvexus has no honor. He doesn't care about the rules. He says the rules are for losers. He'll do anything to prove he's the ultimate champion. And now it seems he'll kill anyone, including the Game Master who gets in his way. Honestly, he sounds like a royal butthole, excuse my language. Unfortunately, it seems like guys like him always win these competitions. It doesn't surprise me you would admire him. What? What do you mean? You're selfish in a similar way, willing to use people to achieve your own goals. Just because I want to win doesn't mean I'm a complete butthole. When you try to win at the expense of others, it changes you, Luna said. That's what happened to Malvexus. Perhaps you're headed down the same path. Luna walked away and headed toward the girls' wing of the castle. Alex desperately wanted to join her, but it was obvious he wasn't invited. He watched her go, stewing over all that had been said. Was it true? Were he and Malvexus playing for the same stakes? Did they approach the game the same way? As he watched the sun sink lower, he had a hard think about it all. Could one play and win this game using a more noble strategy? Could he fight a cheater like Malvexus and win? Or even survive? If there was a way, he was blind to the path. And if he couldn't see it, victory was just a stupid kid's dream. Chapter 28. Malvexus stood on the highest parapet of the Crimson Castle and looked out over Dead Man's Road and the wilderness that stretched to the west. Even from this distance, the magical glow of the Sapphire Sanctum was visible. The brilliant blue cosmicron spun on its axis, spreading its enchanted light out into the dusky afternoon sky like a miniature star anchored to the earth. I want to see that ghastly sanctum burn before nightfall, he said, licking his fangs greedily. How absolutely glorious the fires of its defeat would be! I could watch it for days. The griefers stepped closer to their leader and looked out toward the enemy base. Their eyes gleamed with purpose, as if they were collectively imagining the destruction their team had seen relentlessly repeated. Malvexus smiled. He never tired of victory. You will smell the smoke of its burning before we return, Bone-Grin Banebreaker said. The great Fell-Orc warrior twisted his reattached claw around his gruesome trident, watching the fingers closely, as if wondering whether the appendage would still obey his commands. Yes, the sweet perfume of defeat, Cadaver said, sneering sadistically. The Scourge Elf, who was a sorceress of phenomenal power, twirled her fingers, and they flared with purple magic. And what of these Earthborn? Nightbane asked. The female ranger twirled her leather whip and occasionally snapped it at an anxious skulk who entered their room. They show spirit and ingenuity. It has been ages since our opponents have destroyed our base. We'll kill them all, Lackey giggled. The Wasteland Goblin, a creature of mystical science, snapped a pair of goggles over his beady eyes and examined holographic statistics about the Modfia team. Their first attack was nothing more than dumb luck. Or perhaps it was the traitor's plan? Cadaver asked. The undead elf plucked a maggot from her rotting thigh and slurped it down. She knows our tactics and our vulnerabilities. She will pay for her betrayal, Bone-Grin growled. Let me kill her, my lord, Nightbane whispered. Yes, Banebreaker had his chance, Lackey sputtered. True, Cadaver cackled. Another of us must rise to the challenge. Nightbane leaned in, whispering to Malvexus. Let it be me, my prince. I'll take her head and cast it at your feet as a tribute. Malvexus grinned at the flirtation, then raised a hand to quiet his team. I want their destruction to be brutal and just as swift as their first strike on us. Make sure they suffer, but leave Titan and Life-Stealer to me. As you wish, Master, Bone-Grin said, signaling to the team it was time to move. Lackey tapped a button on his HUD and summoned an iron war chariot. It rose off the ground until it parked itself in midair, just beyond the team and the balcony's edge. One by one, the griefers leapt into the goblin's vehicle. When they were ready, Cadaver conjured a team of nightmares with harnesses. Nightbane took control of their reins and cracked her deadly whip, and the undead horses flew skyward. Malvexus watched his team ascend into the clouds, then tapped his HUD and pulled up Nightbane's conjured surveillance of the Modfia. He scrolled through the various scenes and stopped on the player called Bad Misness. She played a primitive instrument in a band. As he listened to the rock song, energy like he'd never heard before filled his ears. A beat, strong like a gladiator drum, boomed behind the strange earthborn rhythms of stringed instruments and the resounding clash of cymbals. He loved the music beyond anything he'd ever experienced. He clacked his long, sharp nails on the red stone of the keep's balcony. This music proved his intuitions correct. As weak as the Earthborn appeared, they had heart, proving there was depth to the simpletons despite their meaningless lives. Eventually, they would rise as warriors and, inspired by things like this music, conquer their solar system, then reach beyond into the greater cosmos. He felt a kinship with their passion. They were worthy of one last fight on the battle moon. He would kill the Earthborn team and then, for his own pleasure, enslave their music makers to produce new ballads about his victory. That music would be a soundtrack to accompany his conquest of the Cosmic Alliance. Malvexus smiled as the next song continued to fuel his devilish dreams. Below him, the castle's skulks scurried about, obviously frightened by the very champions they served. Soon the fear these dull-minded minions felt would spread to all the battle moon, and then beyond, to every creature, every person, and every planet in the known cosmos. How majestic would be his reign. Chapter 29. I'd buy my own School of Rock franchise, Ms. said. Give some young people the leg up in the music biz, which I never had. A joint where the kids could jam during the week, and I could rock out on the weekends. What would you call your band? Genghis asked. Black is back. Everyone laughed. Seriously? Aspie asked. No, just kidding. Ms. snorted a laugh, a rare thing for the hard-edged tank. I'm still working on the name. The more Ms. giggled, the more everyone laughed. It was so rare to see her let her guard down, and her joy spread through the entire team. What would you do with the championship money, Genghis? Jed asked. I would open a chain of cannabis dispensaries, Genghis said, taking another long drag from his new pipe stuffed with purple bliss leaf. His beard was longer now, and he'd undone his normally tight samurai bun. Alex thought he was giving off Gandalf vibes. It would be like a Walmart for good feels, peace, love, herb, and a 5-pound box of Captain Crunch. Get 'em with the impulse buy, Jed joked. What's not to love? Right on, Genghis said, giving Jed a fist bump. Do your friends get discounts? Alex asked. Genghis winked at Alex. Friends shop for free, my man. You know, it would be cool if you sold those Rockaware sweats you love, Ms. said, stretching her hands wide like she was stocking the shelves. And no bad store music, only hip-hop, all day, every day. Man, I'm hiring you on day one, Genghis said, giving Ms. a high five. Speaking of food, Ms. said, rubbing her stomach. No one was speaking of food, Alex laughed. Yeah, well, I'm going to speak on it. I didn't think I should complain, but the food here has been super disappointing. You know, you're right, Aspie said. I expected so much more. Me too. I mean, the game animations always made those spreads look like a banquet, Jed agreed. But all the entrees I've tasted are Limp Bizkit. And it's always cold, Aspie complained. I was researching microwave spells in my HUD. No luck, though. You don't think we could get food poisoning, do you? I mean, I didn't see any skulks dropping expiration dates on that milk, Ms. asked. I think we have enough mana to avoid the old dishonorable discharge, if you know what I mean. Jed raised his leg and let one rip. That brought on another wave of laughs and groans. Everyone shuffled themselves away from Jed. Well, if we're fortunate to last another night, someone needs to teach these little smurfs how to cook, Ms. said. Amen, sister, Jed said. Let's file a complaint with GM the next time he pops up. Abso-fruiting-galutely, Genghis said. Are we high? Ms. asked. Maybe, but this is my first time, so I'm not sure, Aspie said, suppressing a giggle. Her pupils were as wide as two black moons. Undeniably high, Alex thought. Well, I must be baked, because I'm definitely tripping, Mies said. She pointed east, where the lengthening shadows were darkening the wilds. Alex looked and saw movement beyond the gate. He stood up and leaned over the balcony railing. Aspie joined him. No, I can see that too, Alex said. Those are skulks. Just not ours, Aspie added. The concern in her voice ended their late afternoon slackathon. Suddenly everyone was very alert, shoulder to shoulder with eyes on their new troubles. And there was trouble everywhere they looked. Luna rushed out onto the balcony. Her battle map had flared to life. The holographic information appeared in front of her, displaying a detailed rendering of most of the immediate area. She seemed most interested in a new signal that had appeared on Deadman's Road. It was pulsing like a heartbeat, and it seemed to get stronger with each second they observed it. The first tower on Deadman's Road has been attacked. We must prepare for battle, she said. Everyone was looking out past the main gate. Something was coming closer. What is it? Alex asked, as he tried to squeeze in to get a better look. More skulks? Much worse, Ms. said. A whole team of much worse, Jed confirmed. Chapter 30. Most concerning was a massive wave of red-armored skulks rambling up Deadman's Road toward the Sapphire Sanctum's palisade perimeter. Leading the charge was Bonegrin Banebreaker. He was riding a black-furred riftwolf decked out in armor. He had the reins in one hand and a Viking warhorn in the other. Sweet Jesus, not this guy again, Alex groaned. Bonegrin tipped his chin toward the keep's tower and raised the warhorn to his mouth. Earthborn of the Sapphire Sanctum, your presence here defiles the sacred ground of the Battle Moon. Prepare to spill your blood in recompense. The message boomed from the horn, reverberating through the sanctum's hall, rattling the windows. Satisfied they had heard the message, Bonegrin blew into the horn, signaling the start of the battle, then reined his wolf around and returned to the rear of his advancing troops. Got his hand back, I see, Jed said grimly. Wish we'd known that sooner. He hip-checked Alex and gave him an affectionate wink. Alex gave Jed a half-smile, but the comment still stung. He had really hoped the portal key incident had been forgotten. Yeah, why didn't you tell us you lost the portal key? Aspie asked nonchalantly. It seemed most of her normal inhibitions were still under the spell of the bliss leaf. You never really explained your reasoning. The question seemed sincere, but Alex was annoyed. Was this really the time to explain himself? Now? Right before a battle? It seemed there was a much more important defense to be made. Bonegrin's wave of red skulks was getting closer by the second. Alex is like me, Aspie, Genghis said, putting an arm each around his two friends. I hate giving people bad news. Why would you assume that is bad news? Aspie shrugged. The question seemed to stump Genghis. Seriously, dude, Miz interjected, pointing out the window. What other kind of news is there around here? Nah, bro, news is news, Jed argued. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for being sneaky, but we five need to be on the same page if we're going to survive this. Well, let's debate that later, Miz said. Look, trouble is knocking at our door. A scourge elf sorceress appeared on the edge of the wilds, trailed by a squad of skulk wizards. She raised her hand, casting a frosty blast along the ground of the palisade. Spikes of ice grew like weeds along the structure, and then melted. The ground rumbled with life, and worms, thick as cucumbers, wriggled within the soil, loosening the dirt and destroying the foundation. Part of the high fence buckled and failed. "She's breached the wall," Alex shouted, pointing at Cadaver. "Our defenses won't hold if her wizards break through." "Look, behind her," Miz said. "Another line of skulks. Lackey Lickspittle, the wasteland goblin, some 3 feet high, was driving a small army of skulk soldiers toward the breach. The soldiers swung out of the trees like screeching monkeys. "He's rigged them with explosives," Jed said, pointing out that each skulk had at least one bomb strapped to its little back. Lackey raised a silver-tubed rifle and pulled the trigger. Flame shot out in a long stream, singeing the skulks and lighting the short fuses on their bombs. Perhaps, spurred by the flames and the fear of death, they continued through the breach, climbing all over the crumbling structure. Seconds later, a tremendous explosion rocked the sanctum, triggering a chain reaction that destroyed most of the palisade and even some of the main gate. The team was stunned by the amount of damage. It had happened so quickly. And it wasn't over. Nightbane revealed her position now. She was directing a battalion of skulk archers who readied their bows. As the Sapphire Sanctum activated its own security, blue skulks of every variety rushed to defend the failing defenses. When they were within range, Nightbane gave the command, and thousands of tiny red skulk arrows rained down like a torrent of death, taking out much of the blue skulk army. It would be nearly impossible for the skulk pits to replace such losses fast enough. When the Modfia saw Bonegrin driving a charge of his own skulk troops toward the gate, they knew it was time to join the battle. The skulks would overrun the base in minutes if they didn't help defend it. "Time to fight, Earthborn!" Luna shouted. "Agreed. Ready up, everyone," Aspie said. With a swirl of magic, she invoked a newly modified battle skin, along with the new quiver and bow she'd chosen at the Game Master's pop-up. "Very cool," she yelled. She spun in a circle, trying to catch her reflection in the mirrored tiles along the keep's walls. A stunning warrior elf had replaced the shy girl. She radiated power and magic as she balanced carefully on the edge of the balcony, looking out over the road. Below them, the Griefers' minions poured into view like an avalanche of evil. Aspie's eyes lit up, as if she were full of new ideas, and more importantly, confidence. "Focus on the leader. Every skulk squad has one," she said, drawing her magical bow back and knocking an energy arrow that charged with power as she lined up a shot. "Take them out first, and the pack will scatter. Then we can pick them off more easily." "What about Bonegrin?" Genghis asked. "When the skulks are gone, we still have him to deal with." "This time, I'm taking both his hands," Aspie said, "and his head." She scanned the battleground and fired her first grappling arrow. She grabbed the magical rope that dropped in front of her and swung off the balcony with gymnastic grace, flipping in mid-air so that she landed above them, on the very top of the tower's roof. Every mouth dropped open in amazement. "That girl is high as a kite," Jed laughed. "Yeah, literally," Alex laughed. He was completely stunned and impressed. Maybe, just maybe they had a chance. Chapter 31. Aspie's transformation seemed to inspire the entire team to make their own spectacular changes. Using their HUDs, they donned new skins and readied new weapons. Miz invoked a Viking-like battle skin and raised her new axe over her head. She stepped onto the ledge and looked down on the lane. Jed twirled within a dark cloud of magic, becoming a fully realized version of Ripghoul. His new skin was an impressive ninja outfit that seemed to be made of living shadows. New skills flashed in his profile: first attack advantage, evasion, and sneak attack. Under weapons, he chose dual-wield short swords. Alex had a modified skin because of leveling up, but compared to the rest of the team, he was seriously underdressed and underprepared. The rusty sword he'd found in the siege tower was hardly anything like the sword he used during normal gameplay. But this wasn't the moment to mope around. Everyone had to fight as best they could. They decided Miz would guard the gate from being overrun. Jed would disappear into the wild so he could flank their enemies and gank them before they advanced any farther. Luna and Alex would take on the Skulks and Griefers if they slipped through the main gate. Aspie and Genghis would provide cover and support from a distance. Bonegrin's Skulks were massing near the gate, squealing their strange battle cries. "I'll plug that hole," Miz said, pointing at Bonegrin. Alex nodded his approval, and Miz dropped to the ground and rushed to the gate. Jed checked his short swords, then leapt off the tower, skittering carefully to the edge of the main road. "Aspie, clear the fog. I'm going in." Miz ran toward the gate. Aspie's first shot was a ward arrow. It flew skyward, peaked, then bent back toward the earth like a graceful Olympic diver. Suddenly, the team's vision was magically enhanced, giving them more range and clarity. But what they saw was shocking. The number of red skulks seemed to have tripled from the first wave. Surely they'd be overrun in a few minutes. "Titan, take point with Bad Business," Aspie shouted. "Roger that," he said, running out to stand with Miz. "I'll cover the rear and your flanks." Aspie shot more arrows as she directed the team. "Ripghoul, stay close to the main gate, but out of sight. Kill anyone or anything that breaks through that hole." Ripghoul adjusted his balaclava, giving himself the fearsome look of a ninja, then flashed Aspie a thumbs up, crept into the foliage, and disappeared. Luna stepped up next to Genghis. "Give the whole team a mana boost. They'll need it to sustain your defense." As the primary source of healing magic, Genghis was adept at this move in the game. Could he do it here? Alex wondered and watched. Genghis sat on the edge of the keep's balcony, legs crossed, head bowed meditatively, and raised his hands skyward. Suddenly, he was levitating. He floated into the air like the mana-weaving monk he claimed to be. Tendrils of Syrinxian magic grew from the center of his chest out toward his teammates. Soon, each of his friends had joined the connection, and a new power flowed into them. In the game, these kinds of boosts were so commonplace he'd almost taken them for granted. But in this real-life version, they felt truly magical, offering a sense of power, energy, and relaxation all at once. A genuinely wonderful feeling. "Heck yeah, Genghis! Way to go!" Miz yelled and raised a fist in solidarity. "Feels like I just drank a triple-shot latte." Soon, Alex realized they would need every boost they could get. The Skulks, who had come from 4 different directions, had joined together and were now attacking in one unified wave. Thankfully, SPARKLES MODFIA seemed similarly unified. For the first time in the longest time, they fought like a team should, heroically diving into the battle, but following Aspie's strategy closely. And they were having fun, despite the danger. After only a few minutes, they had eliminated most of the first Skulk wave. Alex looked out into the wilds and caught Jed's gaze. Jed was actually smiling. Had they won the battle? "Oh no!" Miz yelled. She was pointing at a black shape forming down Dead Man's Road some distance. Another unstoppable wave of minions was materializing out of nothingness. "We can't survive another wave, not like that one," Aspie said. "In the actual game, there's always a cool-down period before the minions respawn. We need that to recharge our powers." "Yes, something is very wrong here," Luna said. The team was communicating now through Genghis's magical connection. The sound was as clear as a pair of high-end headphones. "And what would that be?" Miz asked. "Malvexis has changed the rules," Luna said gloomily. "He's somehow manufacturing additional skulks beyond the game's limits. Alex thought back to Starway Station and the terrible machines Fester Crane had been creating. It seems they'd found a way to make them work. Aspie grappled down to where the team had regrouped. The main gate was still on its hinges, but barely. The griefers held their position outside, amassing fresh waves of skulks. Despite the Modfia's noble efforts, the brutal onslaught was slowly advancing. When the castle's walls fell, the griefers would invade, taking no damage, and slaughter the Modfia. Alex shuddered at the thought. He watched his teammates watching the griefers, who were watching their skulks. His friends looked scared. "What do we do now?" Genghis asked. "We level up faster," Alex said, raising a mischievous eyebrow. "Finally, someone's talking sense." Jed said, "Misunderstanding. If this Malvexus is cheating, time for us to do the same." Alex raised his hands to correct Jed. "A buff is not a cheat." "A buff?" Aspie wondered. "Which one?" "The Dark Blood Dragon. It's the closest and the only one powerful enough to make sure we stop the griefers." Everyone looked at him like he was crazy, and had he been honest, he would have said they were right to think that. The buff was indeed the only way. But could they kill a monster that powerful at their current levels? Despite the dire odds, Alex plastered a confident look on his face. He glanced at Luna, hoping at least she might be in his corner. "What do you say, guys? Want to help me slay a dragon?" Chapter 32. The team quickly debated the plan. Though Espy doubted the dragon buff would save them, there were no other viable ideas. Other than to retreat to the Sapphire Cosmocron, where they could make a last stand and maybe get lucky enough to kill the griefers and reverse course. But that idea was just as much of a long shot. After much debate, they finally agreed that killing the dragon raised their odds by a sliver, and since time was running short, they decided they'd roll the dice. Ms. Aspie and Genghis would stay and defend the sanctum. They would overcharge the skulk pits in hopes that more minions might delay the fall of the base. Meanwhile, the buff team, composed of Luna, Alex, and Jed, would sneak away into the wilderness, find the dragon's cave, kill the creature, and secure the buff. Since the Dark Blood Dragon was one of the most powerful monsters in the game, killing it gave the entire team a permanent boost in areas critical to combat. Bonus attack damage equal to level 90, upgrades to player abilities, and increased health of all skulks within close range of the team. At least, that was what Alex remembered. Only one person on the team had memorized the specifics. "Aspie, what are the exact battle specs on the buff?" Alex asked. "Slaying the Dark Blood Dragon grants the killing team a permanent stacking buff called Shroud of the Dark Blood Wing. It doubles all your attacks and allows you to burn enemies for 150 true damage over 5-second intervals, which lasts 15 minutes. Overall buff accrues to the team and nearby skulks for 30 minutes. I say we go for it. I don't want to face those creepy griefers without the juice to end them," Jed said. "I have to agree with Dick Ghoul." Ms. grinned and hooked her thumb at Jed. "Okay, let's do this," Espy agreed. Despite still being novices, the Dark Blood Dragon buff would put the team on equal footing with the griefers. They might win the second round if they used the power wisely. And if they won the second round, they were closer to getting back home. Once it was decided and they were ready to move out, Aspie fired several arrow volleys to distract the invading skulks, and the dragon team slipped over the southeastern corner of the main wall and into the wilderness. Alex felt a surge of adrenaline shoot through him. While they knew this territory from the game, it was their first time experiencing it in real life. Everyone considered the South Wilds the most dangerous and inhospitable part of the Battle Moon. Thankfully, Jed, their guide, didn't appear to be nervous when Luna asked him to take point. "Lead us, Wildsman. We'll follow deep as you dare. Jed was up for her challenge. Your wish is my command. He produced a pair of magical machetes and hacked through the brush and dangling vines. Alex and Luna followed him into the thick jungle. Luna turned to Alex. Perhaps now is the time to prove you can be a good leader. Right, Alex repeated. A good leader. He stared blankly at her for a second before she turned and walked on. It was still hard to accept that he was a bad one, but he'd learned from his mistakes and was ready to do better. He had to. Chapter 33. The Midnight Cave, Jack whispered, pointing at the entrance. The nest of the Dark-Blood Dragon. Are you sure? Alex asked. Look at that, he said, pointing at a massive pile of bones. The bones lay stacked higher than the actual cave's entrance. Only a dragon would eat that much. Take cover, Earthborn, Luna hissed as she slid down behind a nearby boulder. The rock was the size of a compact car, the perfect hiding place for the team. Alex heard something very large stirring within the cave, and decided it was best to follow her lead. He ducked down, then peered around the edge of the boulder. The Dark-Blood Dragon was indeed there in the center of the cave, curled like a great snake on its treasure hoard, proving it was the master of its domain. It was an enormous beast, with dark purple scales, a wine-colored flicking tongue, and fangs that looked like a mouthful of silver daggers. Steam snorted through its wide nostrils. The team shuffled as quietly as possible into a position that gave them a better view to study the cave. The Dark-Blood opened one eye, then the other. It roared, splitting the group's eardrums and rattling the pile of bones littered around the cave's entrance. Did we wake it up? Because it sounds pissed? Jed whispered. Suddenly, the dragon got up. It moved faster than expected, stuck its head out of the cave, and strained its elongated neck. Its golden eyes squinted like it sensed some approaching prey. I think it smells its next meal, Alex said. Oh, yeah? What would that be? Jed asked. Us. Adrenaline pumped through Alex, adding a slight quiver to his voice. Jed peered over the lip of the boulder at the dragon. On second, third, and fourth thought, I'm not sure we're strong enough to take this thing down. The team is counting on us, Alex said. I guess it's the only way to survive this round, Jed squeaked. His normal cocky demeanor had vanished. A buff doesn't guarantee a win, Luna whispered. No, but it's our best chance, Alex whispered, cautiously peering around the rock. The dragon, coiling back into its nest, momentarily disrupted the glimmering horde and jostled something that caught Alex's eye. There, in the center of the pile, just under the scaly rump of the giant beast, was a very dead warrior. The warrior's skeleton still wore his armor and held his matching weapon, the exceedingly rare Starstone Blade of Badassery. To Alex, this was the best of all weapons for his class. The best in all the game, really. The one he relied upon while playing the computer version. Now here was the authentic version, the very thing that might pierce the scales of the Dark-Blood and kill the creature. He had to get that sword. The skeleton warrior seemed to wink at Alex. Its ancient yellow teeth glinted as if smiling, and then its old charred armor shimmered with a very familiar glimmer. Holy frickin' moly! That's the complete Starstone set, Alex blurted. He stood up, as if he might rush into the cave. Jed pulled Alex back behind cover, and Luna clamped a hand over his mouth. Her touch sent an exhilarating shiver through Alex. She smelled like lilacs, vanilla, and girl sweat, all of which he enjoyed for a microsecond, until he realized he'd given away their position. The dragon roared and stormed out of the cave, heading straight for their hiding place. "Well, you've done it now, you big dummy," Jed shouted. "Quickly," Luna yelled, "get on its back." Alex glared at Luna like she was crazy, but before he could say another word, she kicked him, delivering a spinning kung fu strike of magic that propelled Alex through the air. "Oh no!" Jed screamed. "You overshot." Alex twisted this way and that, trying to change the trajectory of his fall, but it was no use. Instead of landing on the dragon's back as intended, he'd landed sprawled on the dragon's tail. He did his best to stab the massive creature with his rusty broadsword, but it seemed to do only minor damage. All it took was a flick and a shrug, and Alex went flying again. Then, as if swatting a fly, the dragon used one giant leathery wing to smack Alex right into the cave wall. Alex ricocheted off the slick stone and landed on the cave floor. Soon he was pinned in place by a very heavy clawed foot. "We have to save him," Jed yelled. He and Luna went into action. Luna was first in line. Seemingly fearless, she barreled headfirst toward the dragon, who'd been sniffing its new catch. It swung around with a roar. Luna's sickle was already moving, and the thick gladiatorian steel slammed into the beast's snout, knocking one fang from its mouth. Jed jumped out from the shadows with his two short swords and joined her attack. Luna swung at the monster's mouth again. Another fang was dislodged, but this time it sailed straight at Jed, who had just turned around. He was immediately impaled and fell to his knees, screaming in pain. Well versed in healing potions, Jed gulped a flask of glowing liquid, activating a spell that dissolved the massive tooth into ivory dust. Another wave of magic healed Jed's wound instantly. The dragon tilted its head back and swirled its snake-like tongue around its remaining teeth. It seemed extremely surprised and annoyed that some of its favorite fangs were missing. His brief pause allowed Jed to cast a blinding ninja bomb that exploded around the head and eyes of the beast. The temporary blindness allowed Alex to escape the dragon's claw. He then rushed for the dead warrior, grabbed the sword, threw the armored skeleton over his shoulder, and raced to the cover of a large pile of treasure, where Luna and Jed had retreated to a more defensible position. The dragon, realizing Alex had escaped, roared again and threw a monstrous temper tantrum, banging its head, wings, and tail into the walls of the cave. It was done with such force that part of the cave roof gave way. Dust and debris littered down, and moonlight broke through the new opening. "What do we do now?" Jed asked, frantically looking around. "We're on the wrong side of the way out." This was true. In their haste to escape the dragon, they'd run deeper into the cave. There appeared to be no way out, other than the main entrance, and the dragon had that sufficiently guarded. "Help me get this armor on," Alex said. Jed raised an eyebrow, recognizing his friend's favorite skin. "A complete set?" Luna asked. "How convenient that is. Very curious." Alex dressed himself quickly, then unsheathed the starstone blade and checked his HUD. Yes, the addition of the armor increased his magical resistance and added a large bonus to his health. Because he had a complete set of matching armor and the matching weapon, it stacked magical effects into a respectable passive bonus. And it increased his ability to deal damage to wilderness creatures. "I think I can take the dragon," Alex said, looking at his hands, which were trembling. He had never felt nerves like this. The realness of the danger loomed beyond the meager protection of his new armor. "We will do our best to distract it," Luna said, flashing a reassuring smile that wasn't entirely convincing. "Perhaps it will expose a more vulnerable area where you can strike. But strike hard and true. You may only get one shot at this." Alex nodded. Jed took Luna by the hand, and the two of them disappeared in one of Jed's shadow spells. They quietly crept along the cave wall until they had circled back to the entrance. When he was sure they were in place, Alex took a deep breath and gave the signal. Jed and Luna reappeared. They screamed and yelled, trying their best to turn the dragon their way. The dragon did so, roaring in frustration when they once again disappeared into the shadows. Now it was Alex's turn. He rushed from his hiding place, found a suitable spot to make his stand, planted his newly acquired armored boots, drew his new sword, and raised it over his head, ready to try his best to land a killing blow. "Hey, you big dumb lizard!" he shouted. "Bet you can't get me!" The dragon roared, charged, and leapt in the air, bounding like a giant dog toward him. Alex, now looking very much like his avatar Titan, clenched every muscle, bracing himself. He pointed the edge of the weapon squarely at the oncoming creature, aiming as best he could for the dragon's underbelly. The dragon bounded off the ground, flew forward many units, landed again, and skidded to a halt right in front of Alex. With its front legs down and its dragon butt up in the air, it shook its tail back and forth, panting with strange excitement. Alex stabbed at the beast, but it danced around in a circle and did its strange little bow again. When it twirled for a second time, its tail hit Alex like a giant whip, knocking him over onto his back. Instead of pinning Alex with its claw, the dragon sniffed him, then licked him. The slightest bit of purple fire wheezed in and out as it panted, waiting for Alex to make his next move. The team was dumbfounded. When it licked Alex for a third time, Luna and Jed let out a collective laugh. "This can't be happening," Jed shouted. "The dragon wants to play!" Alex, who knew dogs well, had to agree. The dragon spun around in a quick circle, dropped into another play bow, and wagged its tail fast enough to generate a considerable gust of wind. Alex thought about the buff and raised his sword to attack the dragon with a killing blow. But he couldn't do it. "Oh man, now I feel guilty. This thing wants to be friends." "But your team needs the buff," Luna argued. "Either the dragon dies or you do." Jed turned on Luna. "Come on, life stealer. I have an icy heart, but no one is that cold. Look at that thing. It's just a big dog. Heck, I think it wants to play fetch." Alex grabbed a nearby thigh bone and threw it. Sure enough, the dragon galloped after it, picked it up, and brought it back to Alex, dropping it at his feet. "I think it's smiling," Jed yelled. Alex was gobsmacked. Luna and Jed looked equally amazed. Still, there was a clock ticking. His other friends were expecting help. The dragon burped, and a brief burst of fire sprayed out, heating Alex's armor and giving him the shock of a new idea. So, the dragon wants to play, right? Alex asked rhetorically. Let's let him do just that. Chapter 34. Luna, Alex, and Jed sat in an orderly line along the spine of the dark-blood dragon as the beast flew west through the cool night air and out over the jungle. Jed agreed. Riding the dark-blood was far better than killing it. So much better, in fact, he hoped the ride would never end. "Genius move, bud," he said, slapping Alex on the back. Alex smiled. He couldn't believe the plan was working. In a moment of temporary insanity, he had directed Luna to use her kusarigama and its magical chain to rope the dragon like a cowboy might rope a steer. After wrapping the chain around the beast several times, Jed deployed a bridle spell, a low-level hunter trick he rarely used, and the dragon was somehow tamed. In fact, because it was still in a playful mood, it seemed pleased to fly its new friends wherever they wanted. "I mean, taming wolves and wild unicorns is one thing," Jed said. "But dragons? Dude, I just never thought it was possible." Alex was just as amazed. The combination of Luna's chain and Jed's spell allowed him to steer the dragon up, down, left, right, and with just the right poke, the dragon would burp a blast of magical purple fire. After a couple of test flights over the Regolith River, they climbed through the clouds and headed back toward the Sapphire Sanctum. Jed twirled his fingers, continuously casting the bridal spell. Alex heaved the magical reins, steering the dragon toward the battle. Luna was the lookout, watching for signs of enemy activity. "There's the front line," she yelled. "If we can get this big guy to spray some fire on that new wave of red skulks, we can clear the lane," Alex said. "Win the lane, win the game," Jed crowed. "Let's do it," Luna agreed. She pointed out Lackey and his new skulk soldiers. Alex reined the dragon. It banked right, and they swooped down toward the main gate. When Alex reined the dragon lower, Luna raised the sickle end of her weapon and swung it down between two of the dragon's scales. It barely pierced the gigantic dragon's skin, but the pinch was enough to get the desired result. The dark blood roared and blew a stream of purple flames. In seconds, Lackey's skulks were completely engulfed. When they flew back up into the air, they saw a group of bomb-carrying skulks diving out of the nearby trees, sacrificing themselves in the flames. There was a tremendous explosion, taking out the rest of the advancing wave and incinerating Lackey himself. The nasty little goblin disappeared, leaving behind a foul-smelling cloud of smoke and ash. The team cheered. "Ooh, 1 down, 4 to go," yelled Jed. "Fly down closer to the base," Luna said. "We need to get eyes on the rest of the team." The Modfia had fallen back to one of the defensive towers. Beams of blue magic shot from a cannon, blasting long swaths of luminous energy straight at the approaching invaders. When the dragon flew by, Alex heard cheers from his teammates and their army of sapphire skulks. Aspie and Genghis were still fighting from the high ground. Aspie was on top of the highest tower. Genghis hovered nearby on a cloud of magical energy. Defensive spells poured out of him like a storm of lightning. Miz was on the main gate, doing her best to fight off a horde of skulks who'd built a siege tower. Miz fought valiantly, but she was outnumbered. "We have to help Miz," Jed shouted. Alex nodded in agreement. "Hit that siege tower first," Luna suggested. Alex reined the dragon so that it swooped lower. Tightening its wings against its body, it dove toward the structure like a missile. At the last minute, the dragon opened its wings in full expanse and plowed into the tower, slicing it like a sickle. The top of the tower toppled over and exploded. The team cheered in victory, but then a shockwave from the tower's explosion hit them, and the dragon and the team tumbled in its wake. Having lost its ability to glide properly, the dragon dropped too low. One claw caught the ground, then they were all crashing into the courtyard of the sanctum, just inside the main gate. Alex rolled over with a groan. He'd landed next to Luna, who was staring at the dragon. It was as stunned as the team, but it shook that off. And now it was free of her chain and Jed's bridal spell. Perhaps because it was injured, the dragon seemed to have lost its congenial spirit. Seeing Aspie, Miz, and Genghis for the first time, it roared as if it might attack. "Retreat to the cornerstone!" Aspie yelled, not knowing if the dragon was still a willing ally. She raised her bow, nocked a new arrow, and pointed it at the creature. Alex looked up and saw he was too far away to intervene. The dragon would easily take his friends out if they attacked. Genghis raised a defensive shield as they retreated. The dragon followed. The last row of cannons activated, rotating into position, ready to attack the dragon. But most of the team was in the line of fire, and the cannons wouldn't shoot until they were clear. "You guys fall back," Alex shouted. "I'll try to get the dark blood under control." The team didn't argue. They turned to flee, and instantly ran into another problem, one much worse than an angry dragon. Chapter 35. Nearby, the night's darker shadows took the form of a young man. A chilly wind blasted the team as a contemptuous voice, like gravel on ice, echoed from within. "Pathetic," Malvexa snarled. Collectively, the team turned to find the leader of the griefers. Malvexus Manslayer was a young male warrior about Alex's age, with a slight build that would lead one to believe he couldn't fight for his life. He was dressed like an evil Elton John, in purple sequined leather and silver plate armor. His boots were black latex and had platform heels that added at least 6 inches to his normally short stature. He carried his sword, sheathed on his back in a garish pink scabbard. He wore a wicked smile on his unnaturally tan face, and his lips were painted the same shade of purple as his leather. His hair was a mop of look-at-me orange combed upward like a rooster's crown. He had a mouthful of vampire fangs and sharp black fingernails that he clicked impatiently on his chest plate. Malvexus was clearly obsessed with his power, his appearance, and himself. And though he had the authority of a spoiled prince, he carried himself with the haughtiness of an old queen. The hard part was deciding whether his look was a crime against fashion or against nature. Since the team had never seen him, they were stunned by his overly dramatic appearance. "Who the F is that?" Chet asked. "Yeah, he's overloading my gaydar," Miz cringed. "What's with the horrible costume?" "I agree," Genghis said. "He looks like a supervillain designed by Dr. Seuss." "Is that the helm of humiliating bad hair?" Alex joked. Aspie doubled over. "My eyes are bleeding." Another round of giggles erupted from the Modfia. Malvexus, their object of ridicule, seemed immune to the banter. He retrieved his sword and pointed it at the team. A blast of ebony magic shot out and zigzagged through the air until it blasted Alex in the chest. Alex was thrown on his butt several units away from the Darkblood Dragon, his sword clattering to the ground nearby. Alex was sure the attack would have killed him if not for the Starstone armor. As he tried to shake off the hit, he wondered how one champion could have so much raw power. Then he remembered the Mana Lake, the fear and sadness in Luna's eyes, and the power she discussed with Jed, the sorcery he didn't understand. Dread magic. The dragon turned and growled at Malvexus, who was already on the move. Malvexus vaulted forward, scooped up Alex's new sword, and plunged it deep into the dragon's skull. The dragon looked up at the team with puppy dog eyes, as if asking for help, then whimpered in pain before rolling over and dying. "No!" Jed bellowed. "He stole the kill!" Malvexus had done one of the worst things any adversary could do during a game. Stealing a kill was unethical, offensive, and poor sportsmanship. Unfortunately, it was also incredibly effective, and ultimately fatal for most teams. "Strange. Your mocking tongues are silent now," Malvexus laughed. "Perhaps you finally understand. You've never faced a champion like me. Today, you will learn despair. Today, you'll taste the sting of true death." Magic shot down like a laser blast from some otherworldly place, granting Malvexus the aspect of the Dark Blood Wing. Blinding arcane energy enveloped him, bestowing all the great powers the Modfia had hoped to claim. Malvexus then raised his sword and magically blasted the gates into dust and splinters. The explosion threw the team to the ground. While the team was still stunned, Cadaver appeared and cast a binding spell, imprisoning the Modfia in chains made of icy magic. The frosty manacles burned to the touch. Still, they fought and pulled at the bindings, to no avail. A flood of skulks and the remaining griefers stormed through the damaged gates. In that moment, it seemed a terrible darkness had descended, and the only thing they could process was a threat from Malvexus that reverberated all around them. Prepare to die, Earthborn. Chapter 36. Malvexus turned toward the Sapphire Sanctum's cornerstone and raised his sword. The sleek obsidian blade he called Netherfang churned with its dread magic until a stream of ebony energy shot from its tip, cracking the cornerstone's thick stone walls down the middle. He lowered the sword to recharge it for another blast, one that would surely destroy the structure for good. When he raised the sword again, a familiar hand lunged out of the shadows and karate-chopped him in the throat. There was a surge of impotent dark energy as Netherfang clattered to the ground, and Malvexus fell beside it, gasping for breath, his newly won bravado crushed under the violence of Luna Lifestealer's attack. He stayed on his knees before her, wheezing. Now it was his turn to be surprised. "Malvexus," Luna sneered, "I see your corrupt heart only grows darker." "Oh, Luna! I've been waiting so patiently for our reunion," Malvexus croaked, forcing a weak smile. "Finally, you show your traitorous face." "As I told you before, your time ruling the Battle Moon is over," she declared. The Modfia shot worried and confused glances at each other. Their plan hadn't included outright one-on-one combat with the Griefers, and surely not with their notorious leader. But Luna seemed hell-bent on taking the flamboyant madman down. She talked as if she had a history with him. Did she know his weaknesses? If so, did they still have a chance, even though he'd stolen the buff? Malvexus launched himself skyward, pulling his black blade behind him. At the apex, he spun down, attempting to decapitate Luna. But Luna was already on the move. She screamed a guttural battle cry, as if all the rage in the world was being channeled through her, and swung her sickle. The weapons clashed with an explosive metallic clang, magic surged, and the two foes were blown apart. Luna fell to the ground near the team. Malvexus landed sprawled on the dead Darkblood. "Way to go, Luna!" Jed yelled. "Stomp that ass hat!" "Yeah, girl," Miz added. "Take him out!" The Modfia, still shackled together, anxiously watched the fight along with the Griefers, who had gathered closer. Malvexus, who was now covered in the dragon's blood, did his best to get on his feet, but Luna got up first, lunged across the courtyard, twirling acrobatically as she went, and scythed into Malvexus's face with her right boot. He buckled to his knees again, wiped his now bloody nose, and laughed. Before Luna could line up another kick, Malvexus charged her, spinning in a manner that matched her form, and kicked her in the face. It was almost the same move she had made. Suddenly, they were fighting like wild animals, well-trained wild animals. Luna proved her reputation as a champion wasn't all fantasy. But Malvexus matched her move for move, proving he was not only highly skilled, but extremely dangerous. For a time, it seemed Luna would lose the fight. However, even with his stolen buff, Malvexus could never outmatch her. In fact, giving it one last extraordinary effort, Luna landed a stunning blow to Malvexus' head, and he went down and stayed down, apparently unable to move anything other than his mouth. "Growing up, you were always the favorite," Malvexus groaned. "They said you would rule the Battle Moon one day." Alex cocked his head. What nonsense was Malvexus spewing? "Rule? That's your misguided dream, not mine," Luna shouted. "Perhaps our training warped you at a young age, or maybe it's this forbidden dread magic you now embrace, but something, somehow, has turned you down the wrong path. Before you go completely mad, you must stop this rampage and restore order to the game." Malvexus grinned, and a little blood dribbled down his chin. He was still on his knees, gathering his breath. "I was born to conquer this world and all the ones beyond it. I'm not stopping until I fulfill my destiny, one way or the other. Then, I'll force you to stop. Luna said. She produced a strange gemstone that had hung hidden around her neck. She leaned over and touched the tip to Malvexus's forehead. The enchantment flared with magic and started siphoning his mana. Power flowed out of him into the gem as long as Luna maintained the connection. "No!" Malvexus bellowed, writhing as if in pain. "Tell the griefers to stand down and call good game, or you'll never fight again." All eyes were on Luna, while all ears listened for Malvex's reply. Finally, it seemed the Modfia might be saved. Chapter 37. Despite the appearance that Luna was winning, Malvexus wouldn't admit defeat. Alex noticed he was resisting the magic of the mana drain. As he fought, he made subtle micro-movements, pulling himself back up into a position from which he might spring another attack. Luna seemed oblivious to the growing threat. "What are you doing, Luna?" Alex yelled. "Finish him! Combat 101. Remember? The mana drain isn't enough. He's too powerful. Kill him." "No." "He will submit. He was once an honorable warrior," she said, her voice cracking. "He can be again." Suddenly, the chains holding the Modfia fell away. Jed winked and put away his lockpick. Not missing a beat, he got to his feet and tried to rush in to help Luna, but Alex grabbed him and held him back. "What the heck, man? Malvexus said it, plain as day. He won't stop until we're all dead. Dead. IRL. Is that computing? If she doesn't end him, he ends us. And she's not getting the job done. We have to take him out." Alex agreed it didn't look good. "Kill him, Luna!" Alex yelled, still holding Jed back. Luna glanced at Alex, but her eyes seemed to stare a million miles away. The griefers didn't seem to care that the Modfia had slipped out of Cadavera's binding spell. They were more concerned with Malvexus and Luna and moved in closer. However, they didn't attack. Like the Modfia, they were waiting to see how this duel would play out. "Accept defeat and stand down," Luna demanded once again. Luna pressed the jewel closer. Malvexus laughed maniacally. "You truly are my flesh and blood," he said, "stubborn to the very end. Yes, just like me, dear sister." "Sister?" Alex was gobsmacked. "This solid gold douchebag is your brother?" Everyone on the Sparkles Modfia team was stunned by this revelation. "I'm sorry, Alex. I wanted to tell you, but I feared your team wouldn't trust me or help the Game Master if you knew the truth." "No matter, it's okay now. Malvexus will submit. He has no choice." Luna turned, and for a split second the gemstone moved off-center. It was the mistake Malvexus had been waiting on. He made his move. Slipping Luna's grasp, he swatted the gemstone away, grabbed her sickle, stabbed her in the back, literally, then picked up Netherfang and sprinted back toward the cornerstone. It only needed one more good strike from his sword. If he made it there before the Modfia did, it was game over. Alex raced after Malvexus. The griefers disappeared through a portal, allowing them to leapfrog to the cornerstone. SP Jed and Miz were on Alex's heels, fighting off the advancing skulks, giving Alex free rein to catch Malvexus. Alex looked up to see Genghis flying over him. "I encased Luna in a mending spell!" Genghis shouted. Alex looked back with concern. "Good man, but we'll all be dead if that dickwad kills the cornerstone." "We can't let him get near it," Aspie shouted. "Your smite spells," Alex responded. "Let's use them together." Everyone agreed it was a good plan because Malvexus was within striking range now. Genghis stood shoulder to shoulder with Aspie, and together they conjured the spells. Two large dark clouds formed over Malvexus. One cloud crackled with Genghis's golden-white lightning. The other cloud rumbled with Aspie's emerald thunder. As they waved their arms, The two clouds swirled together, spinning in unison. "Now!" Aspie commanded. A massive lightning strike flashed down toward Malvexus. But at the last second, Malvexus lunged forward, vaulting out of danger, and continued running. "Again!" Genghis yelled. Another frightening lightning strike drove through the dark clouds like an arrow. Malvexus, who was now within feet of the cornerstone, paused and dove the opposite way, finding cover from the smite spell. The attack, having narrowly missed its intended target, hit the edge of the cornerstone. Boom! The protective stone structure cracked. Blue energy jetted through. The sanctum's health bar, which hovered as a holograph over the cornerstone, drained rapidly until only the thinnest red line remained. At that instant, Bone-Grin materialized, stretching out a beckoning claw toward his master. Malvexus dove inside the escape portal. Instead of disappearing, he stopped and turned back with a mischievous grin plastered on his face. "Don't worry, Titan. The game isn't over yet. You and your team still have plenty of time to die." "He's getting away," Jed yelled. "Blast him with everything you have," Aspie yelled. But before any of the team could attack, Malvexus hit the cornerstone hard in the exact right place. 1,000 new cracks spiderwebbed out from the original, sending the health bar to 0. "It's going to blow!" Miz bellowed, shouting the last words any of the team would remember about that moment. "Everyone take cover!" That concludes Part 4 of Cosmic Champions. Please like and subscribe and follow this channel to get the next installment of this exciting story. Visit Mark at JonesMarkC on all the socials for additional information and links to other free audiobooks and the next book in this series. Thanks for listening.